So let's install Visual Studio Code. Yeah, go to the download. Yeah, if you have a Windows, go for a Windows. I have a Mac, so I'm going to select Mac. So now the Visual Studio Code is installed. So once you install the Visual Studio Core, the next you need to go to Conda and you need to install Conda on. So what exactly Conda does is Conda will provide you with a virtual environment and it helps you manage your virtual environments. So there are two options, either you install Mini Conda or you install Anaconda. Anaconda, what it does is it provides with you with a navigator, a visual navigator, which will give you, multiple IDs and notebooks, a lot of assistance in terms of learning it. So let me go ahead and install Anaconda installer for Mac OS. Hmm, So I'll skip the registration part of it. So the Mac which I'm using, I'm going to install the 64-bit graphical installer. Yep. Yeah, I think command line installer, graphical installer. I will just go for the 64-bit graphical installer. If you look at the some of the IDEs which Anaconda Navigator provides, you have the Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebooks, Spider, a couple of things are there. Yeah, so this also when you install the Conda on their base virtual environment, there are a large number of libraries which comes with it. I think the Navigator is also offering you some of the learnings which you can go through it, learn a lot of stuffs on how to use each of these Python libraries, and of course the community as well. Yep. So let's look at the list of environments the Conda automatically creates. As you can see, once you install Conda, it will give you a base environment. Now the next step is you need to go and install something called as Poetry. So Poetry is more of a is Poetry is a tool for the dependency management and packaging in Python. So what it allows is that it will help you declare all the libraries which your project is depending on, and it will manage the installation and update of all these libraries for you. And the good thing is that once you install it, also offer you a log file to ensure that you can do repeatable installs as well, and you can build your project for distribution as well. So one of the key things which you need to make sure is that the Poetry should not be installed anywhere. I think you need to install the Poetry in the Conda environment, the base Conda environment, so that uh, you know you can isolate it from the rest of the system. Yep, so and it comes with lots of a lot of configuration is possible on Conda, basically to help you build your project, build the dependencies of your project, help create the README files. You know, you can bring in a lot of repositories, a lot of other Python libraries as part of the dependency of your project. Yeah, I think the other thing which you can do is that you can include or exclude files from your project build. So basically, the poetry will help you manage the deployment and manage the dependency management and the distribution of your particular project. So one key thing to note is that, be when you are deploying, you can really tell like against which Python version you want the project to be built. So that is something very good, useful thing with the help of poetry. So when you're building projects in Visual Studio, you definitely need a project building capability, what poetry is offering for Python. Yeah, and the other thing is you can add a lot of extras like optional dependencies, and you can create conditions on when to use these optional dependencies, etc. So all these configurations is something which you are doing on a file called as pyproject.toml file. So let's go and create pyproject.toml file in your project. So you have this workspace in Visual Studio. There are options for creating a new file. Then you have option to create a new folder. So let's create a folder specifically for the introduction project. So I'm going to name something as the project name. So I have named the project as Visual Studio Setup Project. So I'm going to create my toml file, pyproject.toml file. So the first step in the process is basically to, create some of the name and description of your Python project. So that one, we use tool.poetry as the as a qualifier, and I include the name of the project, the version of the project, a small description of what exactly this project is about, and the author. You can actually put if there is an email ID or something like that where you can, you know, to give more information about the author, you can put your email ID. So the next is I'm going to put all the dependencies of my project. So if they are not able to meet if when you're running the poetry, if you're not able to meet these dependencies, it will go and install those dependencies. So here what I'm saying is that for my project, I want Python to be above or equal to 3.10 or and must be below than 3.12. So if my conda environment is not supporting this Python version, it will try to upgrade the Python version. So at least it will check whether this dependencies is met or not. Then a couple of things I need to do. I need to make sure that when the project is being built, I want to make sure that some of the basic things are checked in my project. So pywrite is primarily a type checker. It's basically what it's designed to catch potential errors and enforce type safety in my code. So what it does is that it will help you write clean code, more maintainable, code whenever there is a type mismatches or unused variables or undefined names. This will help you. The other one which I'm writing is the rough. So what rough is doing is also a static type checker for Python. Yeah, but it is fast and it's more like a code formatter written in Rust. So it does a lot of basic syntax checking, similar to Pyrite. You do static type checking. It will do linting for style and best practices, and then it will do a lot of code formatting as well. And finally, I'm going to write all the build system build libraries. So this is the library which the poetry will use to build the project. So let me go and yeah. So if you know that in my environment I haven't installed poetry yet, so I'm going to install poetry. So for that, I am in the conta's base environment. So I go and use this command conda install poetry, which will install the poetry library in the base environment. So the next thing is that I have to create a project specific environment in conda so that I don't use the conda's base environment. If I create a separate environment, I can manage all the project related libraries there. So thereby, if I'm running multiple projects, I will make sure that there is no library dependency issues which will coming. So I'm going to create a new conda environment which is called as AIML intro projects. So now if you look at it, I got a new uh, environment. But before I start using the environment, I have to activate the environment. So I'm going to conda activate AIML intro projects. This will change the compiler into the new environment. So now in this environment, I'm going to install my project. But at this particular point, I don't have any project files. All I want to look at is to install all the dependencies, all the dependent libraries. So I'm going to use the poetry command, poetry install hyphen hyphen no root, which means that this will only install the dependencies, not the project's files. So yep. So now all the dependencies of my project is resolved. So this environment, because if you look at it, I only asked them to check the Python version. So it has been checked the Python version. So it has resolved all the dependencies. It has created a poetry.log file. So all my dependencies are well managed right now. So as and when, as part of your project, if you want to need more libraries, all you need to do is go and come and add more libraries into that tool.poetry.dependencies and then run the command again. So the next thing is I want to make sure that this particular project is going to be running in the same virtual environment. So I use the word poetry, so the command poetry shell, which makes sure that, okay, I'm right, I'm in, if at all you are in a different virtual environment, using this will make sure that this particular project is going to run in the same virtual environment um, which we created for this project. The next thing is that for in the Visual Studio, we need to create the Python extension. So basically, once you have the Python extension, you can select, a lot of Python configuration in the Visual Studio. So now if you go to the command palette and go to Python, select the interpreter, you can see all the interpreters of the Visual Studio, and we need to make sure that this particular project is running using the interpreter which we just created, which is the Python AML intro project. So which means that now the Visual Studio is also going to run in that particular virtual environment. So if I look at the Python version, it is 3.11 dependency met. And if you look at the conda version, which we install, it is 23.10 and all set. Now let's go and create a new folder called as tools. This is just to, in case you want to create multiple folders, and if you want to create files and you want to make sure that the file is also part of your project. So I'm going to show you how to make that. So let me create a new file underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py. So basically, if this particular file is there in a particular folder, this folder when you're building using Poetry, this particular folder will also part of your building exercise. Now you can create a .env file. So if you have many, the environment variables which you want to use in your project, so this is the file which you can use to put all your environment variables like .env file. So all your environmental variables, you can put it here. For example, if you want to put the OpenAPI key, instead of putting in every project files, you can put it as a environment variable and you can put that OpenAPI key here. So this will make sure that this particular variable is available across your project files as an environmental variable. So now the next step, if you want to add your own project files like .py files, all you need to do is you need to go ahead and find out a new, like you go and create a new file anywhere in this particular project. So let's go ahead and create a py file, a Python file, just to write your code. So likewise, you can create any number of py files or write your code. So in my next videos, I will take one or two use cases, one or two maybe the projects, and then I will help you build this project by yourself.